What's up, everyone? So it's been long enough. I've had each of these two units for about 3 months now, testing them side by side in my indoor environment. And, I spent enough time with them, got to know the software. So it's finally time for me to put these head to head and see which one of them I'm going to keep for my indoor environment. So I'm going to go side by side in here with the Titleist Pro V1 RCT ball. And if you're unfamiliar with this ball, it is a ball designed for a radar-based unit. It is in every way a Titleist Pro V1, except they have some sort of reflective material underneath the cover that helps read spin and radar-based unit carry and things like that. So both of these units I purchased myself. A retail value, as I'm sure you know, the Bushnell Launch Pro on the left is about $2,999 in the US. With an $800 a year for the gold membership, which is the one I opted for, that unlocks its full potential of what it can offer. And then the Flight Scope Mevo Plus, this one is updated currently with the new fusion tracking that just came out, and I don't have the extra added data parameters that you can add for, I believe, 900. Just those extra parameters aren't something that I personally want to use in my indoor setup, but we'll go over that in the conclusion of this video. So I'm going to do this in 3 parts. I'm going to start this first video off doing a series of tests with a wedge, so a 56-degree wedge, hitting some softer shots all the way up to full swings. And I got them set up side by side on the monitor, so I'll hit about 10 shots and then show the data on each and kind of how they stack up against each other. So the next video will be a mid and long iron video, and then finally we're going to do a driver video and a conclusion as to which one I'm going to keep and why. But I can say right now that they're both great units. You won't be disappointed in either. And to keep everything on a level playing field, I got them both set up with my local weather and altitude conditions here in Arizona. So playing at about 1,200 feet above sea level with the local conditions, they're both set up. We're going to focus mainly on carry, obviously total, rollout, things like that. That's going to be, subjective to what kind of course and conditions you're playing on. So we'll just focus on carry, spin. Looks like we could even do some angle of attack. And let's go from there. I know a lot of you have watched the previous videos, so please, if you can, subscribe down below. We're going to be also doing some giveaways, and I look forward to making future content for you guys. Anything that you see in my setup is always going to be down in the description below with links. So, from the hitting screen to the lighting, laptop I use, turf, you can find all that down below. So let's get this started. All right, so I got both units set up. I will say it is a lot easier to set up the Bushnell Launch Pro, and just kind of put it in the general area and throw like a reflective alignment stick that comes with it, and it takes a couple seconds. It's good to go. Flight Scope takes a little more time. You just have to use the target alignment feature, make sure everything is lined up. I got it lined up perfectly with the center line on the Launch Pro, which is center of my screen, and it is 8 feet back, 9.5 feet of ball flight to the screen. And then for the setup, I'm just gonna I got the iPad set up with the Mevo Plus here on the right, and then the Launch Pro is running on the laptop on the left. So I'm gonna start off by hitting some shots, and then we'll show you the data right afterwards. All right, let's start off with a few short little chip shots. That's about 15 yards of carry. Which I know is kind of where the Flight Scope struggles, is on shorter chip shots, but now that it's running the new Fusion tracking and we're using the RCT balls, let's see if that kind of improves. So far, shots recorded with both units, no misses. Let's do 2 more. let's check the data out on those 5 shots. All right, so on those first 5 shots, let's first look at the carry. So on the Launch Pro, we got 14, 11, 13, 13, 13, and all those shots felt pretty consistent. So, I mean, I'd say that's pretty accurate. And then if we look at carry over here, we got 9, 5, 11, well, we'll call that 12, 12, and 8. So there's definitely a big variance on carry. And again, this is kind of what I've been seeing over the months is on these shorter chip shots, it seems like the indoor radar units or the radar units indoors kind of struggle a bit on that carry number. Let's take it ball speed and see if we can kind of figure out why. So ball speed, we got about 26, 23, 25, 25, and 25 for an average of 25 on ball speed. Over here on the Mevo Plus, looks like 21, 16, 24, 25, and 20 for an average of 21. So 4 mile per hour ball speed difference there. If we look quickly over at, let's see, let's go over to club data. Let's look at club speed here. So we're picking up 28, 26, 27, 29, 24. So about 27 average club head speed on the Foresight, which I trust very much with that unit. And then if we look at club speed here, we got 26, 25, 26, 26, 24 for an average of 25.7. So not that much of a difference on the club speed. It looks like it's struggling more so with picking up the ball speed on those short shots. We also can look at angle of attack while we're here. So angle of attack, it looks like I'm swinging an average of 5.9 degrees down. And there's the numbers there. And if we look at angle of attack here, it actually missed it on, it only picked up 2. And the 2 it picked up, so 8.3 and 10.2 there under angle of attack. So those 2, 7.6 and 8.6. So definitely a bit of a difference on that. Let's take a look at spin numbers. So let's see, spin here, we got, 35, 31, 35, 4,000, 2,800. And again, on that last one, I did drag the club a bit, so I can definitely see how the spin would have come down pretty fast on that one. So averaging 34.20. We look at ball spin on this side. We got 35, 31, 46, 4,000, 27. So actually the numbers are pretty close on that. And that's one thing I have noticed testing these is that the spin, which I've seen a lot of people complain about, well, at least on wedges and irons, and we'll get into driver in the third and final video, is that the spin's been pretty accurate. I mean, I'd say when I'm hitting 7-iron on these things, they're within 100 RPM. Sometimes they're like dangerously close. But again, on these shorter chip shots, that's where I really see it struggle. And it can be frustrating when you're playing a simulated software. You're trying to work on your chipping like me, and you're just not getting very accurate feedback. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But that's the numbers there. So let's bump it up a notch and let's go into, let's say, some like 40 to 50 yard shots and see how those go. All right, let's do 40 to 50 yard shots here. We'll hit 5 of these, try to keep it as close to those carries as possible. That was a little toey. But I went 45. That one went just over 40. Try to hit a little harder. Some better contact. Felt better. All right, that one went about 48. 2 more. Like a spinny one there. See how shot number 4 that actually picked up on spin. All right, so there's 5 shots. Let's check them out. All right, so let's see the data of those 5 shots. Those are the 40 to 50 yard shots. It's like we got on carry on the Bushnell 44, 42, 48, 44, and 44. Over on the Flight Scope, we got 42, 42, 48, 44, and 44. So averaging 43.8, we'll call it 44, and averaging 44 over on the Bushnell. So this is where we start to see it kind of get a little bit more competitive on the data against each other. So that's pretty good to see. Let's take a look at the ball speed, and we'll just look at overall ball speed on this. So 48.7 ball speed on the Bushnell. Ball speed over here, we have 49.4, so pretty close on the ball speed. Club speed here on the Flight Scope, 53.8. And club speed on the Bushnell, 55.9, so about 2 mile/hour difference on club speed. If we look over at angle of attack here, looks like I'm averaging 6.7 degrees down angle of attack on those 50-yard shots. And then if we look at angle of attack, I'm seeing some like positive numbers on here, so averaging 1.9 up. So again, just one of those things where I don't really think the indoor radar units are really going to stay, you know, on par with the photo-based units with things like that. If you were concerned about angle of attack, that's something to consider. Let's look at launch angle this time. So we're averaging about 32.5 launch angle on the Bushnell. Launch angle here, we're averaging about, oh, there it is, 32.8. So actually pretty good on the launch angle. It's almost dead on. Spin. So 66, 75, 75, 8,000. And that fourth shot's the one that I said felt like a spinny one. So, and then it looks like I picked it up a little bit more on the last one. Those last 2 shots were really consistent. They felt like in swing, and then the numbers are kind of showing that they're pretty consistent as well. So we're averaging 7,500 spin on the Launch Pro, and we're averaging 7,500 spin on the Launch Pro. And like I was saying, those last 2 felt really consistent. Look at the carry on the Flight Scope and the numbers across the board. So yeah, pretty consistent. So again, that 40 to 50 yard shot, that's where I start to see the Flight Scope, you know, kind of pick up and be pretty reasonable unit, I would say, for the price point and using it indoors. If you want to work on your chip shots and your short touchy shots and putting, I can tell you for sure, I mean, it's enjoyable for me putting on the Bushnell Launch Pro. On the Flight Scope, as most of you probably know, it's not great. And I really love hitting those short chip shots when I'm practicing, and even some of the putting drills available on various software. So when it comes to the short side of the bag, the Bushnell Launch Pro wins for me all day. But again, is that important to you? It might not be. So let's pick it up and let's hit some full swing sand wedges and see what we got. All right, let's do these 5 shots. We're gonna go full swing with the 56 degree and see how they stack up. All right, so I'm carried about 75, which for me in a 56 degree, unfortunately that's about, I carry this thing probably about 80. But shouldn't really matter in the test, just kind of seeing how these things go against. A little bit better. I'm gonna carry about 75. That was really thin, but that'll be good for the data. That one flew about 84 yards, and that was a real thin shot. Not my best. It's a bit better. And got about 76. And get this one to actually go left. All right, that one went about 83 yards. So let's check the data on those 5. All right, so the 5 full swing 56-degree shots. We'll take a look here. It actually looks like the Mevo missed the first of the 5 shots. Not really sure why, but it's not uncommon for it to miss a few shots. So that's, again, one of the things with the radar base units indoors that can happen. So we'll just disregard the first shot. Let me just go ahead and delete that. All right, let's take a look at the 4 that recorded. So on the first shot, we got carry 75, then 83, 76, and 84. And 83, if you remember, that was the shot that I hit, you know, really, really thin and poorly. So we'll kind of look at those numbers here shortly. But so we're averaging a carry of 79 over on the Flight Scope. Got 72, 82, 72, and 79. So it did pick up that thin shot. You know, they're actually dead on the carry on those two. On shot number 4, looking at them here again, they're actually pretty close. So averaging 79 on the foresight, and then 76, we'll call it 77 on that. So not too far off on the carry. Let's take a look at ball speed. So 67, 72, again, that was the thin shot. 68, and then 72 on the final shot, and that was the one that I hit better and actually got the ball to draw a little bit and go left, which gave me a bit more carry. So averaging 70.1 there on the carry, or the ball speed. And the ball speed on the Flight Scope, 71. So pretty close, actually. It's about 1 mile per hour difference. Let's take a look at the spin. So we got 10,004, 87, 95, 95, averaging 95 on the spin. If we look at spin here, again, we see higher on the first one just like we did. And then spin almost identical on the second thin shot. And then within just, I mean, on the last 2 shots and the first shot that were hit solid, pretty close. So we're averaging 9,500 on the foresight, and we're averaging basically 9,500 on the Flight Scope. So again, I'm seeing really consistent spin numbers coming out of the Flight Scope when comparing it to the foresight. We look at launch angle, 31, again, 24 degrees on that thin shot, 33 and 33 for an average of 30.2. Launch angle here, 32, 25.1, so it was only a degree off on the thin shot. So it picked up that thin hit pretty well, which is actually really good to see. Because if you're playing simulated play and you hit a shot like that, you don't want it to just go haywire and not give you, you know, somewhere in the realm of what you actually did. So launch angle averaging 31.5 here. Launch angle here, 30.2. So that's another thing I noticed between the 2 units. It seems like you get higher launch on the Flight Scope. So just one thing to keep in mind. Let's kind of see what it did with the club head speed. So we're averaging 73 miles per hour of club head speed on the Launch Pro. And then club speed, we're averaging 74.3. So just pretty close, about a mile per hour off on the club head speed. Now let's take a look at angle of attack, which has been struggling on the Flight Scope. We're averaging 5.5 down angle of attack. And if we look over at the Flight Scope, we are averaging 3.1 down. So, I mean, it's off 2 degrees. Doesn't sound like much, but I mean, I'm seeing some pretty odd numbers here. If we look at that thin shot, which is shot 2, I was showing a negative 2.5 degree angle of attack. And if we look at it over here, 7.4 down on that. So there's I mean, even though it averaged out pretty close, if you look at the shots individually, they're pretty far off. So, but again, spin looks good. Carry is pretty good. We're not focusing on total because, again, course conditions change. And just to notate again that these are both set at the same elevation, and you know, they're both selected as the premium ball or the regular ball. I don't have range ball selected on here, which, if you know from Flight Scope, I think if you select range ball, it changes the difference by like 10 to 15% to account for the range balls not carrying as much. So everything is set apples to apples on both of these units. So that's it. We did the The first video, and again, this is first of three, next one's gonna be mid iron and long iron, testing these two against each other. And in this test, for me, it's the Bushnell Launch Pro for sure. Cause again, I like short chips and I like working on putting, and I really like getting accurate numbers on especially launch angle and things like that, where the Flight Scope just seems to struggle. But if your main focus is just carry and spin, I would say, you know, for the price difference, it's kind of hard to beat the Flight Scope in that aspect. But you have to really ask yourself, you know, what's important to you. And hopefully on the next two videos, you know, the next one being the mid iron and long iron, which I think most people are going to be hitting, at least me for the most part, while practicing indoors. We'll see if that sheds any more light on the situation. And then when we close it on the driver video, I'll have my final conclusion and which one I'm going to keep. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and you'll get notification of that next video coming out here very shortly. I'm hoping to get it done actually maybe later today or tomorrow, and with the editing just, you know, a day or so. So if you're subscribed, you'll get that, that notification. You'll be able to check that out. I'll see you guys on the next one.